with James Wood getting his promotion to the bigs. Who are some of the top prospects you should have your eyes on for promotion next? We've got you covered with top prospects and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, bring number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives you notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth, personalized experience through text messaging alerts right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute podcast. And if you are interested in joining us on Subtext, you can find the link in our bio to wherever you're listening or watching, or if not, it's available on any of our social media platforms. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And guys, we're doing this episode semi-differently today. We talked about some top prospects that you're going to need to keep your eyes on, but those are going to be coming up in the second half of the episode. Up top, we are going to be talking about some injured guys that might be available on your waiver wire, and if not, you should definitely go out and make a push and trade for them. But my brother Matt, I'm going to let you take your pick here. Who are we going to go with first?
Let's talk about Clarke Schmidt. He's interesting. He's 50% owned, so he still is out there in about 60% of 50% of leagues. And yeah, my math is bad today. Do not reference me to Albert Einstein. But anyway, Clarke Schmidt is out there 50% of leagues, the New York Yankees, and quite honestly, he's an interesting ad, right? So if he's out there, I'm adding him. I don't know if I'm per se trading for him unless I'm trying to sneak him in the back door and try to get him as an extra ad piece if I have a free IL spot. But Clarke Schmidt should be back, sometime next month, if I'm not mistaken, from that lat injury. And you know what? How he was performing going into the season before the injury was pretty darn good. He had 11 starts. He had 60 innings pitched. He had 67 Ks. He had a 2.52 ERA and a WHIP of 1.13. Really great numbers there on the year. A lot of underlying stats to support. He had great movement on his fastball and breaking balls. His xERA was a 3.70. So yes, it is about a whole run higher, but I still think that, I still think he would probably still perform at like a 3.20, 3.25 ERA. His ex batting average, which what he was giving up, pretty much how hittable he was a 231, which is fantastic. His fastball is almost up at that elite speed at 94.2, where, we qualify elite at 95 miles an hour. He's not giving up, an average exit velocity. It's like at least a strong one. It's only 88.4 miles per hour. The strikeout to innings, correlation, I don't think is too believable. Yes, he's creating a lot of whiffs and getting the Ks, but he's not getting guys to chase. So, those numbers are looking great. And yes, he had success in the minors like that, but he's never really showed that in the bigs yet. At least, he's only been in the bigs for about like 2 years. So, this is his third season. So, ultimately, there's still that upside that he could turn that around, but I don't know if I'm truly believing that. But ultimately, I still think he's a great pitcher. Somebody that even if he does exactly what he did last year, where he goes and he has, 10 Ks less than his innings pitched, I'm not mad at it. Clarke Schmidt should be very valuable. Obviously, he's on the Yankees, so that gives him a plus right there. And you know what? He's just pretty darn good. He's got a decent arsenal too of a cutter, sweeper, sinker, knuckleball, a knuckle curve, and a changeup, which is all great things. All the pitches that really weren't being touched, except for his changeup, was the only one that had a batting average of 667, which he barely threw it about 9 times this year. So I think that he's able to come back, be successful, and be a valuable start week in and week out once he's back.
Yeah, man, great take on Clarke Schmidt there. As far as an update goes, I have an update here from June 29th when Aaron Boone had told reporters that Clarke Schmidt has begun a throwing program. The initial prediction was 4 to 6 weeks. I think we're definitely going to see Schmidt go out on a rehab assignment, which I think should be sooner than later, probably need at least 2-3 starts down there. So, Matt, I like your prediction of somewhere near the beginning of next month is what I'm going to throw out there for Clarke Schmidt. But at 50% owned, it's going to just keep rising. I think we get ahead of the game now, and you add Clarke Schmidt, once again, New York Yankees starting pitcher. Before that jumps up to 60, 70, 80%, you're not able to get Clarke Schmidt anymore. Matt, we broke down everything else really well, so I don't have too much to add. Let's just move on to the next guy. Another New York starting pitcher, but guess what? This guy is not from the Yankees. He's from the New York Mets. Let's talk some Koda Suter. And this is one you're probably going to have to go out there and make a trade for, right? Because Koda Suter is up to 68% owned. If he is still somehow available in your league, I think he is a must-add. Koda Suter is going to make his next start in Triple-A. In his last one, he threw 2 2/3 perfect innings. That was on last Wednesday. He actually struck out 6. Sanga's looking like he's ready. He's just going to keep building up. I would say maybe 2 more starts for him. So not probably too far after the All-Star break. I think we see Senga back with those New York Mets. And he was really, really good last year, The stuff really looks good. It's not like he's a rookie. He's a more polished pitcher. This is a guy that I think has top, dare I say, 15, 20 potential starting pitcher upside, which he showed off last year. Another year in the majors, I think he's going to be a little bit more comfortable. Somebody I'm going to be drafting, I think, everywhere next year. And Matt, I'd love to hear your side of things here on Senga. I don't know if you're agreeing with me or not on this one.
I mean, obviously, I want to go out there and trade for him. I've tried to make offers all throughout the season. He was somebody I stashed from the beginning of the season, and I haven't let go because of the possibilities. He's an ace, and he has top 12 ability. So, going into the season before the injury, I had him ranked in top 12. I think I had him 10 overall. So, I was ready to give him the crown, and Senga just, obviously just had to get hurt. So, I think he returns to former glory. May take a couple weeks, but ultimately Senga does need to be added if for some reason he's out there, which is mind-blowing. But other than that, I am trying to sneak him in the back door of a trade as well. So if I'm going out there and I'm trying to get a deal done and I feel like I'm not getting enough, maybe I can try to be like, yo, I need a little bit more. How about you just float me Koda Suter? He's still not going to be back for a couple weeks. You need this now, right? Yeah, I got you. Give me that. So get on that Koda Suter bang board and try and trade for him. But let's move on to Xander Bogaerts here. Xander is coming back actually this week. He is more widely owned than, you would think, 75% owned, even still with the injury that he had this year. He also had a poor performance this year so far. 187 at bats, 23 runs, 4 bombs, 14 ribs, 4 stolen bases, batting .219. The underlying stats really weren't great either. An ex-WAR 313, an ex-batting average of 269, which is obviously better than, his batting average now, but his average exit velocity was 86 miles an hour. He's not really barreling the ball, not getting hard contact. The launch angle looked great. He wasn't chasing, wasn't whiffing, but he was still striking out and not really walking. You look at 2023 stats with it, and, you're just like, okay, it's kind of looking like a repeat of last year, where last year, was a pretty decent season for him. He had the 83 runs. He had 19 home runs, 19 stolen bases, batted .285. And he's not somebody that will light up a StatCast board anyway. So, ultimately you look at it and you're like, okay, the improvements on the ex-batting average obviously is better, but, they look pretty much the same. So if I can get a second half of Xander Bogaerts at what he did last year, at least to that pace, I'm going to be pretty happy. So, again, he's somebody that, if I could sneak him in on a trade because they're just loaded up with IL spots, maybe I could try and do it, or maybe it'll take much. I don't think it's going to take much anyway to get off somebody's team. Yes, he'll still have to pay about 50 cents on the dollar, but 50 cents on the dollar isn't much at this point for where Xander Bogaerts was drafted this year. So ultimately I'd go out there and try to acquire him now.
Yeah, man, great take there on Xander Bogaerts, middle infielder, actually playing more second base now for those San Diego Padres. We know who Xander Bogaerts is. He's a very polished hitter. He's a career 289 hitter. He's got a little bit of pop. He's got a little bit of speed. I know he's a little bit older at 31, but I think there's something left in the tank here for Xander, right? So I'm doing the same as Matt. If he's somehow available in any of your leagues, you pick him up, and you're probably hurting for a second baseman. Most of us are anyway. So I think Xander Bogaerts is a good guy. You could sneak into a trade, and get yourself a second baseman. But before we move on here, and coming up next, we are going to talk about a couple of more guys that are hurt that you can go out there and either trade for or pick up. And then we have those top prospects, as I mentioned earlier. And once again, that is coming up next.
This episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn about, and yes, even your rival team's city. With hotels, beds, breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even at your baseball's rival city. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of a U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today at Booking.com on the site or at Booking.com's app. Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace of the Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on Game Time app actually go down as they get closer to the first pitch with killer last minute deals, all in one pricing, views from your seat, and the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Last minute deals save up to 60% on last minute sports events, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Save even more with exclusive in app deals on select seats ahead of the game. Uh, even zone deals, right? So this is something completely new that I love. You save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seat for you. Plus, you toggle through this feature and up to total upfront costs with no surprise fees at checkout. So you get all the pricing upfront, no surprises. Get a panoramic view of your seat right from of the seat, so you make sure that there is no poles just blocking your view, so you're not stuck and wasted your money essentially. You're guaranteed the lowest price. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. God forbid they're wrong. And Game Time's ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms again of create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have you had to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on Amazon, on YouTube, or free on the Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As the season unfolds, rely on our dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call notifications, injury actions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where your path to victory begins. And by joining new customers, get a free 2 weeks. So you might as well check us out. The link is in the description below, and I promise you won't regret it. So, Dom, please stop me from talking.
I got you, brother, and fantastic job over there, by the way. Truly appreciate you. So let's talk about this next guy, somebody that I really like, and I have him on pretty much all my leagues. Let's talk some Luis Rengifo. Somebody that I was telling you guys, he was pretty much free 99 at the end of drafts. I was like, the guy has a Swiss Army knife, playing for those Angels. On Yahoo, Luis Rengifo is eligible at second, third, shortstop, and outfield. So whether somebody picked him up or took him as their last pick in their draft, they probably are not using him as their starter at any position. And right now he's on the IL, wrist issue. Not 100% sure when he's going to be back. We don't really have a clear timetable. So you know what? You go out there and you throw a cheap offer. Or you wait till people drop him. So just remember the name. Right now, he's 79% owned. Once again, Luis Rengifo, Swiss Army knife for those Angels. It's just somebody I really like. The underlying stuff is where it needs to be, right? We're not expecting Luis Rengifo to blow you away with his power. Maybe he hits 15 home runs total for the whole year, right? But you know what? He's not striking out a lot, doesn't whiff a lot. The batting average stuff looks good. He's not crazy fast, which is super interesting for a guy that has 22 steals already on the year. But the will is there, so he's willing to do it. I think he could wind up with 35 steals, like I said, 15 homers, a batting average that's plus of 280, a decent amount of runs, probably not a lot of RBIs. But Luis Rengifo is somebody that I really like, and I've seen him progress over the last few seasons. So definitely somebody you should go out there and trade for. Once again, the guy plays 4 positions, so you got to love it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Geef. I have a really inappropriate nickname. It starts with a Q. You remove the R, and that's how you go. But it's family friendly, so I have to kind of spell it out and let your imagination take you. But yeah, and that's pretty much what I think of his performance. It's just something that is out of nowhere, and that essentially it's unexpected, but at the same time, it goes away and then it never comes back. I think this is kind of more of a guy that I'm not really like on. Yes, the production and everything he's doing this year is nice, but again, I don't think we'll ever see it again. It's just a little air pocket, and I just don't think that it's for me. But hey, I mean, you want to take the risk. It's going to be free 99, but he's also going to be the first one I cut off my IL list as well, because nobody really wants, with a Q. So you don't really want that either. But anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw, somebody I do want, and somebody that's going to be, performing in a rehab game next week. And it's going to be great. I'm so excited for him to come back. It's going to take a little bit longer than, these other guys like Koda Suter. That's going to take a little bit longer to, make their way back, because he just started throwing sim games. It's going to be his first rehab start. I guarantee they're going to want 4 or 5 under his belt. They're going to, ramp up his pitch count. I kind of see him coming back towards like first week, second week of August, but he needs to be stashed. He's 54% owned, so he's out there in 46% of leagues. Clayton Kershaw of the LA Dodgers. He needs to just be on teams. He needs to be stashed, because when he comes back, it's going to be pitching magic. He was the best pitcher in baseball last year till he went down. This is just pretty much his MO of his late age career. And Clayton Kershaw just needs to just be owned. And I guarantee he'll take it to the promised land at the end of the year.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I just don't understand why Clayton Kershaw, starting pitcher of Los Angeles Dodgers, is 54% owned. When he comes back, I love Koda Suter and even Gavin Williams, who just came back, Shane Baz, who just came back, and so many other starting pitchers that we've covered that are hurt. Jeffrey Springs. I could keep going. But I think Clayton Kershaw has the potential to be the best of them all. We know who this guy is. And Clayton Kershaw is somebody who is going toe-to-toe with Father Time, right? Father Time has not taken Clayton Kershaw fully down yet. Last year, Clayton Kershaw, pitched 131 innings, and they were absolutely, honestly stellar. It was 24 starts, 2.46 ERA, 131 innings, 137 strikeouts, and a 1.06 whip. I just expect more of the same. Low 3s to high 2s ERA, around that K per 9, a good whip. It's got the potential to win games for that great Dodgers team, and they're going to let him fly. There's no reason to hold 36-year-old Clayton Kershaw back. It's not like they're going to baby him or anything. When he's out there, as long as he can go those 5-6 innings, I think we're going to see consistently down the stretch here. Kershaw, 1, needs to be more highly owned, and 2, if he isn't available in the league, shoot that buy low offer out there on Clayton Kershaw, because I think you just might be able to get it. And I actually think this is a perfect time. Coming up next, we are going to be talking about these big name prospects that you should have your eyes on that are going to get a promotion sooner than later. And guys, we are talking about our friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on PrizePicks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily fantasy sports. With just a few taps, you can transform $10 into $1,000 easily. PrizePicks is incredibly user-friendly, and you can make selections and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. And as the host of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, here are some rock-solid picks. Opt for Paul Skeens to have higher than 8 strikeouts in his next start, and that's almost a lock at this point. Paul Skeens has been fantastic. Opt for Jose Ramirez to have higher than 1.5 total bases in his next outing, and then opt for Bobby Witt Jr. to have higher than 0.5 home runs in his next game. And guess what? Bobby Witt's in the home run derby, so I have a lot of confidence in that pick. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And Matt, we're itching to talk about some of these prospects, but I'm going to pass the first one off to you, my brother.
All right, let's talk about Junior Caminero. I love me some Junior Caminero. I got to be honest. My only thing is, Caminero's just coming off the IL, the minor league IL, and quite honestly, it's going to be more of I think a September call up like he kind of was last year, where he got the call up like towards the end of the year, but also still was able to make at least somewhat of an impact in that short period of time. So I think that we're going to see him, again, closer than, sorry, I'm spitting out random stuff here, but ultimately this kid is going to be fantastic. I mean, once he comes back and makes his full-blown debut, he's already has 8 home runs and has been just rocking and rolling through 138 at bats. I think this kid is going to be absolutely special once he gets rocking and rolling again. More of a September call-up, but honestly, like, if you're in first place, second place, third place, fourth place, you need to stash him if he's out there. Caminero of the Tampa Bay Rays, I think, is probably pretty unowned, and I saw him dropped in a lot of leagues because of that. He's 28% owned. So I would go out and stash him everywhere as long as you humanly possibly can, because once this kid comes up, he may honestly be what we had with Dominguez last year, where he just had that special week. Obviously, we don't want him to go and get TJ, but Caminero can go out and just show out and kind of take you to the promised land and get you that championship. So I would add him immediately.
Yeah, man, great job with Caminero. The thing is, it's between pretty much Caminero and Jackson Holiday as the best prospect left down in the minors now that James Wood is here. I love me some Junior Caminero, and the awesome thing, let's talk about Junior Caminero's 2023 in the minors. As a 19-year-old across high A and double A, 117 games for Caminero last year, 460 at-bats, 85 runs, 18 doubles, 6 triples, 31 home runs, 94 RBIs, 5 steals, 42 walks to 100 strikeouts, and a .324 batting average. That is so impressive to me as a 19-year-old, and a lot of that time in Double A has just looked really good. And then even this year, Matt read you off those numbers in Triple A for Caminero. They look very good. He's actually projected to, today as we're recording, is starting a minor league rehab assignment. I just think Caminero is going to be absolutely fantastic. I really, really love what he brings to the table. So you definitely need to go out there and stash him while you can, because once we get the news that there's any sniff of, calling him up at all, I think the hype is going to go through the roof, and, that 28% right now is going to shoot up to 50, 60, 70% owned, and you're going to, just miss out if you don't get ahead of that. Let's push on to this next name, though. Let's talk some Max Meyer, a name that we have talked about a bit, quite a few times on this podcast, but for good reason. He's the number 2 prospect in, the Miami Marlins system. By the way, if I, did not throw it out there, Junior Caminero is number 2 overall prospect in all of baseball. So, the hype is definitely there. I wasn't joking when I said, in my opinion, it's really between him and Jackson Holiday, the number 1 prospect that's left. So, definitely Junior Caminero, give a shot. But back to Max Meyer here. Max Meyer looked really, really, really good in this time in the majors this year. His 3 starts. Once again, he pitches for those Miami Marlins. 3 starts this year for Max Meyer in the majors. 2.12 ERA. It was only 17 innings, 14 strikeouts, but a 0.82 WHIP. This guy was, as few as a couple of years ago, just one of the most hyped up pitching prospects, and for good reason. He's got, good stuff. Has a really good pitch mix. Throws that slider, fastball combo, but also does mix in that changeup. He has a sinker in his arsenal. I would really love to see him, develop, either that changeup or the sinker a little bit more, throw it into, his pitch mix. I think it would really work wonders for him. We've been hearing that, the sniffs of Max Meyer is supposed to be back sooner than later, has looked a little bit better of late in AAA than he did, because he really got off to a bad start after he got sent down to AAA. So I think Max Meyer's return to the majors is somewhat around the corner. I know Edward Cabrera came back for those Marlins, but their rotation has really been banged up. Let me grab you that ownership percentage there on Meyer. I don't think it's too crazy. And with starting pitching just being the way that it's been, 22% rostered for Max Meyer. With the way that starting pitching's been, a guy like this that can come up, has been good in the minors, has that prospect pedigree, isn't going to get a crazy amount of wins on that Marlins team. But I just really think this is a guy that, even next year, I'm going to be drafting him everywhere if he has that guaranteed rotation spot, just because of the talent and pedigree that Max Meyer has. But let's move on to another starting pitcher, right? Let's go from Meyer to Jackson Jobe, another guy that I've talked to you, people about quite a few times. And once again, for good reason, Jackson Jobe is the number 8 prospect in all of MLB. He's the starting pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. He's 6'2", 190. I really love what this kid brings to the table. Another guy, slider, fastball combo, but also, has a pretty good changeup. Has really, really good talent, and, did just come off the IL, I believe, in the minors. 8 starts this year, 2.10 ERA, 25 innings, 32 strikeouts. Batters are hitting 125 against him with an 0.90 WHIP. I think we see Jobe this year. I really think we see him get the call. And once again, in my opinion, now that Skeens is up, there's not really too many pitchers that can rival how good Jackson Jobe is. Honestly, according to LB.com, as I mentioned, he's the number 8 overall prospect. There is not another starting pitching prospect that's, even within, 8 spots of him. Then you get Cade Horton of the Cubs. And I just think Jackson Jobe is, on that next level. So another dude that probably not really highly owned on Yahoo at the moment, and we could just take advantage of that thoroughly. He is 8% owned on Yahoo. So really, you can go out there, you can stash him now. It's a good home ballpark for him to pitch in Detroit. We've seen, Detroit develop guys like Scooble and, Mize, who have had success. Mize, a lot of injuries there. But, I really think Jobe can be more of that Scooble type. So I'm going to add him everywhere within the next couple of weeks, because I think there's really a shot that he's going to get the call if he keeps performing well. Let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk about Samuel Basallo, catching prospect for those Baltimore Orioles. I feel like the Baltimore Orioles just, print these guys out, man. It's wild how many top prospects they have. Basallo is 6'4", 180, really known for that power. And here's the thing, he is a catching prospect, so I could really see, Basallo, getting traded. Baltimore talked about they're all in on a starting pitcher, so Basallo can really go to a team where he, has the chance to play every day. It's not going to happen there at catching with Adley Rutschman. Adley Rutschman's just, all-star. We know how good he is. So I don't think Samuel Basallo's home is in Baltimore. If he gets traded from another team, watch out, because he can get called right up and just have the run, just to go out there and play every day. This year, I didn't even read off how good Basallo's been this year. In 2024, Basallo in the minors, 277 batting average, 72 games, 41 runs, 12 homers, 38 RBIs. 26 walks to 63 strikeouts, and guess what? He can steal a bag with 7 steals. So this is a guy that's, not really owned at all. Just a name to keep an eye on as this trade deadline comes up, man. And Matt and I are going to do a really awesome episode for you guys. We're going to speculate on some trades. And then once, the trade deadline comes and goes, we are going to have our regular, yearly trade review episode. We're going to throw out some grades for, all the trades that go down, and just, talk about how it's going to affect fantasy baseball going forward. Guys, but with that being said, I'm going to wrap things up here. Got to head out for today, but thank you guys for, hanging in there. Hope you enjoyed, a little bit of, doing this episode kind of differently. We'd love your guys' feedback on that. And once again, please be sure that you like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And once again, guys, if you've listened to this point in the episode, you must have at least liked somewhat of our content. So check us out on the Subtext platform. Once again, through Subtext, you're going to get so much more than we offer in this 30-minute podcast, including ranking all of the waiver wire guys. You can ask Matt and I any questions that you have, prospect call-ups, alerts right to your phone, injury takes, and just once again, so much more than we offer in this 30-minute episode. So be sure to check that out. The link to our Subtext is in the bio to wherever you're listening or watching, or available on any of our social media platforms. But make sure you guys are on the lookout for a new episode tomorrow. But until then, guys, see ya.